Welcome to HandHeld Gaming Reviews. Today we're going to talk about the RG28XX from Anbernic. I recently reviewed the Mayu A30, not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and this thing seems to be a direct competitor. I paid around 55 bones, or almost 40 eagles. Yeah, I think I'll start referring to USD as eagles from now on, or maybe freedom tokens. I don't know, any of my American friends, comment below what you guys usually refer to your currency as, aside from dollars, obviously. Either way, it's priced at a similar price point to the Mayu A30, but lacks a thumbstick. It sports the same H700 chipset as the rest of the Anbernic XX range, so you'll be looking at performance up to PS1 with the ability to play some N64 and Dreamcast titles. So you could argue that the thumbstick isn't necessary. I'm a fan of the thumbsticks being included personally and welcome any haters in the comments below. It might help the YouTube algorithm for me. But seriously, I get that thumbsticks are a personal preference thing, and the heart wants what the heart wants, or doesn't want for some of you. For what it's worth, the Anbernic OS, and I'm pretty sure MuOS, has the ability to press the function button plus the power button, which will turn the D-pad into a control stick input. So we'll get you through some of those titles if you're hell-bent on playing something that needed a thumbstick. Now, before we go any further, I am loving this black transparent case color. This thing looks hot, like melt your ice cream on a warm summer's day hot. Personal preference for sure, but this thing might just end up living in my work bag as a result. Unlike the Mayu A30, this thing has 2 micro SD slots, so you can double down on how you choose to store your ROMs and OS. It also has a 3.5mm audio jack for your ear hole benefits, and a mini HDMI output, making it easy to connect to an external display or TV. I haven't tested that, mind you, but it's there. The slim form factor without a thumbstick lets it slide on in nice and easy. To your pockets, that is. Sorry, couldn't help myself with that phrasing violation. The only downside to plugging it into a TV, I would imagine, is this thing doesn't have Bluetooth, so Bluetooth controllers are out. In terms of screen quality, my unit has a bit of light bleed in the screen. Overall, it's not super distracting, but it is noticeable depending on the content you're playing. For me, it's not enough to impact gameplay, but I can see it might bother others. For reference, the Mayu A30 didn't have any noticeable screen light bleed issues at all. This thing also lacks Wi-Fi support, so no retro achievements or sync thing if that matters to you. In terms of battery life, this thing sports a 3100 mAh battery as compared to the A30's 2600 mAh. So conceivably, this thing should have better battery life. Its claims of up to 8-hour playtime sound about right. I haven't fully tested this, but so far it doesn't appear to drain as quick as the A30, so take that as you will. Now for the button feel. Well, for starters, they are a lot smaller than the buttons on the Mayu A30, and apparently size does matter. It just doesn't feel as good. Phrasing. They're not bad by any means, but they are a little stiff and give me the impression that they might make your fingers sore after extended gameplay. Also, what's up with these shoulder buttons only going halfway? I mean, I can see why it would have been a lot easier from a manufacturing standpoint, but the Mayu's design had them in the middle. So it's definitely a design choice. For my hands at least, I found the shoulder buttons were not in an easy to reach place while holding the console lying down. When holding the console while sitting up, with its weight supported by your fingers from behind instead of fingering this thing from the side, they were fine. Who is this thing for? Well, in my humble opinion, this thing might scratch the same itch as the Mayu A30. Something compact and ready to go that you can keep on you at all times. I wouldn't recommend this thing as a primary device for long play sessions, but if you're on a bus, train, or plane regularly and just want something on you to pass the time, this might fit the bill. Overall build quality is solid for the price, and I really can't complain. For the big question is, would I recommend this? Well, I'm going to split this into 2 sections. Would I recommend this as a standalone, and would I recommend it over the Mayu A30? As a standalone device, if I had have reviewed this before the A30, I've got to say I'm pretty happy with it. The build quality is great, the included firmware means you can play it straight out of the box without getting into downloading things or tinkering. For the library of games the H700 chipset is capable of playing, the form factor works well. MuOS also works well on this device for anyone who's into custom firmware. Just to note, I haven't tested Newly or any other custom firmware that might be out there on this thing. As compared to the Mayu A30, well, that's a tough one for me. There are pros and cons to both, so I'll start by saying have a think about the features that matter most to you and go from there. The H700 chipset in the Anbernic feels to me to have more horsepower. The lack of Wi-Fi though and the button feel lean me more towards the A30. The A30 can be found at times for 5 bones less, which when you're talking about 50 bones, that's a 10% difference, which is not insignificant. The A30 also came with its own case. I just ordered a case for the RG28 and it cost me 7 bones, so the cost of the RG28 is all adding up. Overall, for me, my priorities, if I had to choose one, I'd go with the A30, but that's not a reflection on the RG28XX being a bad unit at all. If you went with the RG28XX, I think you'd be pretty happy with it. Just be mindful of that light bleed issue. If you've made it to the end, a big thank you for watching. If you like my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm aiming for 1,000 subs and my channel growth seems to be responding really well to this retro content. Not to mention, all of those into this hobby are more than likely around the same age as me, and I found the community to be far more engaging with less keyboard warriors, if you know what I mean. It's a great community. Coming up, I have a few budget retro handhelds to review, one that's not so bad, and one I would definitely not recommend. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.